Yes, always more questions. Loving it. The show is meant to be participative. Participative. Good morning, mushrooms, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers, sisters, mothers, misters, and to all my cousins out there around the world. It's time to plug in. Let's get the train chugging. More Republicans are losing patience with Trump's legal absurdities. Ooh, interesting. Now, patience is being able to wait for something. I don't have a lot of patience. I'm an impatient person. And they are losing their patience. They had patience, but now they're losing it for his legal absurdities. If something is absurd as an adjective, that means it is crazy, it is ludicrous, and a little bit ridiculous. And then as a noun, an absurdity, and then plural absurdities. Let's learn more in the caption below, shall we? Trump's effort to overturn the election that he lost is being undermined. Ooh, nice present continuous passive. Is being undermined by whom? By what? Good morning, Nadim. By the inanity of his legal claims. They are trivial, petty, and basically pointless. Even if they did amount to something, it would be nowhere near enough to overturn the election as he so desires. Now, to undermine something, getting away from the literal digging a tunnel underneath a building, in the figurative fashion, it means to slowly chip away at or erode the base of something so as to destabilize it or make it less effective. And so, yes, his effort to overturn the election is being undermined by the ridiculousness of his own legal claims. And so basically, his chance to change the outcome of the election is actually being damaged by the ridiculous legal lawsuits and court battles that he is engaged in. Trivial, petty, and pointless. Yeah, they are truly, as an adjective, inane. Not so often you see it as a noun here. That's nice. Yeah, why not? All right. So, here we go. Trump has left the world stage and few will miss him. Yes, for one, I will not. Yes, the world stage, because this entire existence in which we live is just theater, however, with more severe consequences. But few will miss him, meaning few, not many. Notice there's no in front of that. If we had a few, that will mean that some people will miss him. However, when we don't put the indefinite article before few, then it means not many. A few, some. Few, hardly any, if any. We're going to see another example of that down below. And remember, few works with countable nouns. And so we'll see the uncountable version down below. Moving on. A governor, a GOP, grand old party Republican governor, has invoked his dad's stand against Nixon, because his father as well was part of the Republican Party, and he actually took a stand against Nixon and his crimes. And so this governor, who's also a Republican, has invoked his dad's name, saying, just like my father before me, because I learned lessons from him, I'm going to stand against Trump. And he's calling out the GOP. This is nonsense. You're a fool. This is nonsense. Enough of that. Time to just accept the situation and move on, shall we say? To take a stand against something means to stand up to them, to face the problem. You're not going to back down or back away. You are confronting and addressing the problem in a courageous fashion. All right, moving on. Some very good visual vocabulary here. Trump's attempt to steal the election is unraveling. Ooh, much like this little carpet thing that I have in front of me, you can see the dog chewed on it a bit, and it is starting to unravel. Where a woven fabric, the threads start to come out of place and it starts to fall apart or break down. And so, yes, if something is unraveling, it's falling apart. And if it's falling apart, then it's not functional, doesn't work. That's pretty logical, but nice visual vocabulary. Let's keep it rolling. A lot of meat on the bones today. No mother wants to leave her child or leave her child behind, especially when she heads off somewhere else. But apparently in the Philippines, it can feel like there's little choice. Yeah, because of economic hardships, strongman, virtual dictatorship, and countless other factors, including hurricanes or in the Pacific, typhoons. Yeah, lots of problems, and so mothers are leaving the country to go seek better opportunities and so that they can provide for those children, albeit from far away. And that must be a heartbreaking, heart wrenching situation to be in. However, this is the other grammatical point, just like we had few people will miss him, with there's little choice. And in this case, choice is uncountable, and so we use little here. Just like people have little patience for what's going on in the courts with Donald Trump. What do you say there, Nedim? So unraveling is falling apart, but here unraveling a mystery is more... unraveling a mystery, yes, because the woven fabric into a complex whole integral thing, but by unraveling it, by picking it apart and breaking it down, in that case means to make it into its smaller pieces so that way it could be better examined and or understood. And so in that case, unraveling a mystery, much like Scooby and his ne'er-do-well friends, they unravel the mysteries and then unveil the evildoer, the perpetrator, in the end. It's Mr. Jones, the gardener! All right, moving on. And not that it's necessary, but let's continue the crusade of caffeine. Secretary of State expected to be among the first positions Biden fills, filling out his cabinet, his closest advisors, the secretary of the different departments, which in other countries are often called ministers. Well, he's filling out his cabinet, filling the positions, and he's going to choose of somebody named Blinken, apparently. As well, Blinken is the leading contender for the Secretary of State position. And the Secretary of State, as you know, is in charge of foreign policy and so on. If you are the contender for a position, that means you are one of the people competing for the position. I don't think people are actually competing for it, but this Mr. or Mrs. Blinken is one of the key, people who might be chosen to fill that seat. Interesting thing though, Blinken, and just because especially I've got you here in the house, it makes me think of, but the other interesting thing is if you blink, that's opening and closing both your eyes. Often you blink if somebody like pretends to punch you and then you flinch and you blink and somebody says, "Oh, you blinked." And so sometimes when faced with a challenge or a controversy, we use the verb to blink, meaning to pause and be indecisive in a very important situation. And so we've got somebody who's might be blinking while put into a very difficult role as Secretary of State. I don't know. It's just one of those little linguistic things that I find absolutely amusing. It was something like that, or maybe I just dreamt it. I don't know. Let's keep it moving. Lots of stuff to go. Lots of ground to cover here. And people got to go to work. Key GOP Michigan canvassing board member is expected to vote against certifying the results. Yes, the canvassing board to canvass something, not like a canvas upon which you paint a picture. However, a canvas covers a large area. So to canvass means basically polling and giving, well, more or less a survey, getting people's thoughts and reactions to something over a large geographical area, more or less. And so this canvassing board member is expected to vote against certifying the results. If you certify something, that means it is then officially valid. You're stating something in writing that it is in fact true. That's why when you pass some sort of course or you earn your degree, you receive a certificate. That certificate certifies that you have done the work. I'm going to sneeze. Pardon me, I showered and shaved for once before the Monday broadcast, and I used some new aftershave, and it's apparently tickling my nose at this moment. I think I've brought myself back under control. Let's keep it moving. U.S. Navy Admiral visits Taiwan as Trump admin solidifies their ties before exiting. Yes, because the Trump administration will be exiting the White House, whether or not you believe in these claims of election fraud, etc. But these ties, those connections, that is the relationship between the two countries, and the U.S. has basically always supported Taiwan as separate from mainland China, causing to a lot of tensions within the region. And people were afraid perhaps that with the change of administration, the US's stance or position regarding Taiwan might change. However, at least before leaving, the Trump admin is making it more solid. They are reassuring the Taiwanese people that the US will stand with them, if not up to or against China. And so, solid, adjective, solidify, to make more solid. Ta-da! Moving on. Actress says, and this was the mother, I believe, from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, who was basically pushed out of acting after her role on the show, and there's some sort of beef between her and the star Will Smith. And they said it was you who banished me. And if you banish somebody, you are casting them out of society or out of a industry, so if you will. And if that person is outcast, they are ostracized and set apart, and they're not able to participate within the activities of said group. We're going to see another word related to banishment and being ostracized again down below. But hopefully none of us ever get banished from our respective societies, because that you're left alone out in the cold, and it's not fun, folks. All right. Looking to Eastern Africa and the ongoing and apparently on-growing, though that's not a word, situation in Ethiopia, the Prime Minister has issued a 72-hour deadline for Tigrayan forces to surrender. Remember, a deadline is the point in time before which something must happen. And a deadline for them to do this. And a deadline, it's usually the last moment to submit your homework before you are penalized. Ah, yes, deadlines. All too common in corporate and scholastic life. Nobody likes talking about deadlines, least of all this procrastinator. So, let's move on. All right. Jeez, I said all right, being all excited, but really, as usual, just kind of negative news here. A 15-year-old, has been arrested, present perfect passive, by the police. After 8 people were injured in a mall shooting near Milwaukee, tensions are high in Wisconsin, which was always seen as kind of a not-to-be-mentioned state, completely forgotten other than the cheese, and the fact that they produce the largest amount of cranberries in the world. But, tensions are high in and around Milwaukee and Wisconsin in general, and it's never good to be making the news for the wrong reasons. They are becoming infamous or notorious. Moving on. Here's interesting. And now, we love animal news, and especially heartwarming animal news. It started sad, but thank goodness it's had a happy ending here. An elephant that fell down well has been freed after a 12-hour rescue mission. Has been freed, nice present perfect passive, focusing on the fact that the elephant is now free and out of the well. And who was he rescued by? Rescuers. But it's kind of interesting here because it fell down well, right? Well is that hole in the ground from which you get water to, drink and wash your clothes, etc. However, by dropping the in this headline, the indefinite article, the well looks more like an adverb, and it sounds like the elephant fell down in a good fashion, fell down very well. But no, it fell down a hole in the ground and got stuck, and that's tragic. That's not funny. Either way, elephants, any harm that befalls an elephant plucks at my heartstrings a little bit. I love those guys. Moving on to some more animal news. Some more weird animal news, sad animal news. A man was killed in a shark attack at a popular beach. Further continuing to stoke the fears of sharks everywhere as they continue to attack people due to loss of habitat and food. Where was this? I do not know. It could be the US, it could be Australia, it could be virtually anywhere as sharks circle the waters of the entire globe. Either way, no real reason to be alarmed or afraid. Shark attacks are less common than lightning strikes. So, let's move on. An Aquaman star surprises a young fan after a priceless reaction to a gift. I don't know anything about this this star, this show, this fan, or this situation as a whole. However, what I do know is the word priceless. Now, the suffix less means without, and so something is without price. Now, counterintuitively, what that actually means is that it is invaluable, which means that it is so valuable that it is unable to put a price tag on it. Just like those old MasterCard or Visa commercials where they're like $5, $10, $15, but an afternoon with your children, that's priceless, right? And so it's so valuable you cannot put a price on it. Similar, invaluable, as I said before. If something is invaluable, it's so valuable that you could not do without it, which is then to be contrasted against worthless. Worthless actually means it has no value, it has no worth, and it can be thrown away, discarded, or disregarded as desired. Woo! Moving on. Bittersweet Thanksgiving for a grandma and a teen who met via an accidental text in 2016. Read this article. It's some of that heartwarming news. Well, the whole situation. I don't know about the bittersweet part, but if something is bittersweet, means that it is heartwarming and it is sweet, it is lovely, it is nice, but you put that bitter up there because there's actually something bad also associated with it. And so, yes, it's a beautiful relationship that began as a result of an accidental text 4 years ago, but apparently something has soured or bittered this situation. And so I don't know what happened, but it is unfortunate. Whatever it was. Because it's really a sweet story. And it's really cool, man. Heartwarming. If you're in the need of a pick-me-up for your Monday morning, learn about that relationship. I think it's super cool. Moving on. The hyped travel bubble burst over city's fourth wave. If something is hyped, sorry, my arrows encroaching upon my headline there. If something is hyped, it is advertised, it is promoted, it's awesome, it's going to be amazing, oh yeah. Sort of like that movie about the purple people on a different planet that everyone said was going to be groundbreaking and so amazing, and I saw it and I said, the film was overhyped and overinflated my expectations, therefore I was let down or disappointed when I actually saw the film. Some hyped travel bubble. Well, any sort of economic bubble. It could be the tulip craze of the 1500s, or the internet.com bubble, or the housing bubble, etc. Bubbles tend to grow and grow and grow until surface tension can no longer hold them together and the bubble bursts or pops. And then all the economic interests come crashing down. And so apparently there was some travel bubble. Everyone thought travel was coming back and it was promoting it. But now that bubble has burst because of some city's fourth wave of the virus. All right, moving on. Some other bittersweet news here, I guess. The ICU grandpa who cradled sick babies has died. I don't really know anything about this, but there was apparently some older man in the intensive care unit who would cradle sick babies, maybe rock them back and forth. The cradle is that little sort of bed that you put a baby in and you can rock it back and forth. But to cradle something means to hold it, to protect it, to keep it safe, and comfort it. And so he was helping sick babies, and apparently he has died. What? I do not know, but that's kind of sad because, well, a nice guy. Moving on. Mexico is grappling with its second wave of COVID-19. It is wrestling with its second wave of 19. They're having a great amount of difficulty dealing with their second wave. What's that, Nadim? Travel bubble here is the COVID safe zones that various governments have been trying to set up. Yes, and probably talking about one city in particular, but yeah, they're trying to create these like super safe bubbles in which you did not need to worry and travel was actually safe. However, it seems that, yeah, I was just giving examples of other bubbles. Yeah, because they were talking about a virus-free travel bubble in which it was safe to actually travel, but apparently the virus has infiltrated and popped that bubble, and that's not good because those people are going to be traveling. All right, moving on. Some just general interest vocabulary and news. Beach erosion from tropical storm Eta. As you know, Eta just pummeled the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf Coast of the United States. but due to its waves and retreating so on, it pulled sand away and it unearthed a previously buried. If you're buried in something, you're buried in the earth. And so if you unearth something, it's revealing remnants of an 1800 shipwreck in Florida. And so that's just kind of interesting. The remnants are the leftovers of that shipwreck. If we're talking about the leftovers of a body or a person or an animal, then we usually say remains. But apparently for things like a shipwreck, we'll use the word remnants. Never really gave it much thought before. I usually just use remains. But either way, they both derive from the verb to remain, meaning to stay, to persist, to continue to exist, if you will. Moving on. Should women be entitled to period leave from work? Some countries think so. That women should be able to take time off of work during their time of the month. That's what the leave is, the leave of absence or time off from work during their period. And are they entitled to it? Do they deserve it? Should it be given to them by default? Well, some countries apparently think so, and this is proven to be a contentious issue in various countries around the world, and I don't really know why. I'm absolutely ambivalent on that, and I think women should be able to take the day off if they want to. They should be entitled to, but they shouldn't be obligated to. Up to them. Let people choose. More people ought to be able to choose their destiny, their path forward on a daily basis. All right. Trump is in an unprecedented streak of silence. Unprecedented, common appearance on the show, just means never having been seen or experienced, witnessed before. And so we've never seen such silence and a streak of silence. If there's some sort of streak of something, it means it keeps happening in a row. Much like, yes, you could say Unprecedented had a week-long streak of appearances on the show, meaning it appeared every single day. Yes, moving on, that is probably my the most common phrasal verb that I use for changing stories here. I try to do it for some semblance of consistency. However, sometimes I wiggle and diversify and branch out into other phrasal verbs. However, I think consistency is good for the running narrative. Don't know. Well, the streak of silence, or a hitting streak, meaning that the person has hit the ball every time they got up to bat. To streak, meaning running through a public place naked, like you do see some people do across the pitch at football matches or something like that. And then to streak also can mean to move quickly, so as to almost be a blur. Just like, if you rub your finger across a window, it will create a streak or a streak of lightning. And so it means to move very quickly as well. Of course, much of this vocabulary has different meanings in different contexts. And so not to dissuade your questions, however, I usually only present the definition or meaning relevant to the actual headline in which it appears. But yes, always more questions. Loving it. The show is meant to be participative. Participative. Moving on. PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X have been super hard to find. Super hard to find. It sounds like some sort of Valley Girl or teenager millennial wrote this. Oh my god, it's so super hard. Could use a little bit of better vocabulary there. However, either way, their scarcity. Ooh, yeah, there's not a lot of something. It is scarce. There's a dearth of these gaming stations. And that may be on purpose. And, well, on purpose. Synonyms being intentionally or deliberate. It may have been done on purpose. It may have been done intentionally. It may have been done deliberately by the companies. Because if something is hard to find, then it boosts demand and it makes it more the talk of the town. It creates a buzz and therefore hypes. Ooh, more vocabulary from above. Hypes the item, generating that extra demand, which will hopefully turn around into additional sales once they release more units to the public. Ta-da! Moving on. Meet Nigeria's most sought-after stylist. And apparently does some interesting things with style. However, if something is sought after, that means people are trying to find it, trying to catch it, and they're trying to find and catch a stylist. But if you sought is the past tense and past participle of the verb to seek. Seek, sought, sought, and if something is sought after as an adjective here, that means that people are trying to find it and catch it. Just like apparently these rare units of PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X are being sought after by the public, the gaming community. Yes, they are incredibly sought after and very rare. All right. But yeah, cool styles, man. I wish more people would embrace such funkiness in the rest of the world. That's for sure. Moving on. Apparently, now if you don't know, then this headline makes no sense. But wearing a mask is like turning down a marshmallow. A marshmallow, the fluffy little bit of white sugar pop that you put in hot cocoa or you roast over a fire and watch it grow. To turn down a marshmallow, to turn down an offer, turn down something that is available to you, is to say no politely, to decline an offer, to say thanks but no thanks. And so by turning down a marshmallow, this is alluding to a sociological or developmental study about children, saying they put marshmallow on a table and say, if you can eat this one now, or if you wait 10 minutes, then you can have 2 marshmallows, and testing people's will and determination to not indulge in immediate behavior now, delaying the gratification for later gain. And so this study has been quoted, it's an oft quoted study talking about saving for retirement, health benefits, and exercise, and apparently wearing a mask, because wearing a mask now will benefit you in the long run. And so yes, by wearing a mask, it's like turning down the marshmallow and focusing on the later, greater effects that it can have for you in society, as opposed to your immediate, oh yeah, but it's sweaty and I don't like to breathe like this. All right, moving on. And as I said, yes, lots of meat on the bones, but we're getting close. Bear with me, hold your horses, and don't go anywhere. The Mandalorian, what does it have? What does the Mandalorian have against creatures? I don't know. I've not seen The Mandalorian because I don't have Disney Plus or whatever, though I would love to watch it if anyone wants to share their access codes with me. However, if you have something against somebody, what does they have against creatures? So that means The Mandalorian has something against creatures. If you have something against somebody, it means that you are holding a grudge or some sort of dislike for the other thing for some sort of reason, or maybe no reason at all, just a simple bias and or prejudice. Yeah, that's it. Personally, I hope you don't have anything against me and would never hold anything against me, meaning to hold a grudge. An ongoing bias. All right, moving on. Criminalizing Trump undermines Biden's agenda. Don't really know why, but undermine we had above, which means to reduce the effectiveness or the ability to function, the stability of something over time. And by criminalizing Trump, a criminal is somebody who has broken the law. To criminalize something or someone means to make it illegal or make them look like a criminal. And so by acting against Trump, it's actually working against Biden's agenda, so says the headline. Fair enough. I believe it. I can see it in certain ways. I mean, this is a very nuanced situation in which we live. Moving on. Some good vocabulary here. How to instill confidence in a COVID-19 vaccine, because there will be a lot of skeptics out there. And so it's like we need to take some confidence here and plant those seeds of confidence in the people so that way they have confidence and they believe in the vaccine. And so to instill something in someone is to plant those seeds, those ideas and thoughts, so that way they will grow and the people will then have those. Just like when Obi-Wan Kenobi and Luke showed up or turned up with Princess Leia, it instilled hope in the resistance because now they had Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah? Having a vaccine is instilling hope in society that this whole situation might pass by sooner rather than later. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Learn it, know it, love it, live it. Moving on. Washington GOP election commissioner praised a right-wing provocateur who promoted voter fraud conspiracies. Whew, there's a mouthful for you. To promote something doesn't just mean to say, it's on sale, buy now. And it doesn't mean to necessarily always put into a higher position like at work. If you get your boss's job, that is a promotion. But to promote something, to advertise it, to make it seem more appealing so that other people accept it, such as ideas and beliefs. Ta-da. And so this person was promoting the fraud conspiracies, and this person is a provocateur. It's just somebody who likes to provoke other people, to poke them and prod them, to cause them to act. And so this person is promoting the fraud conspiracies in an attempt to get other people then to act upon that. And so they're promoting that, maybe hopefully thinking that people will start an armed rebellion and a civil war. I don't know. And the GOP election commissioner praised this provocateur, saying, "Oh, he's a good boy. Yes, you're a good boy." No, it's to say something nice to someone, acknowledging their actions so as to continue additional positive behavior. In this case, that positive behavior actually being negative. Moving on. Georgia's pro-Trump election chief is now considered a pariah inside the GOP. Tied or related to some of that vocabulary from up above, if you are a pariah, you are basically an outcast. Nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to deal with you. Nobody wants to see or be seen with you. They're trying to distance themselves from you. You have become an outcast, untouchable. You have been ostracized from their own party, even though it's a pro-Trump election chief, but has spoken out against these fraud claims. And so now everyone else is like, I don't know who you are. They're not returning calls. They're ghosting him. And, well, that's a sad state of affairs because homeboy's doing what's right. He's just calling it as it is, telling the truth, but they don't like that. Provoking the same as manipulating or similar? Well, it depends. To provoke actually just means to cause action, to cause somebody to act for the most part. Poking and prodding, provoking them to take action. Now, it can be done through manipulation, but not necessarily. Manipulating is, I mean, if you think about it, tied to the idea of manos, hands, right? And so if you're manipulating something, you are moving it. And you are the one moving it, where this one, you're not the one provoking somebody, you're not actually the one who is moving them, but you're just poking them, pushing them into action in a way. And so it's a slightly nuanced difference in meaning. But yeah, by manipulating their thoughts, it could provoke them to do it. And so yeah, the two are quite intertwined and overlapping, I would say. Yeah, okay, cool. Moving on. Hey. A victory for Democrats in Georgia's Senate runoffs. First, nobody gained over 50%, the 50% necessary to become the senators in Georgia. We had a bunch of people close. However, nobody actually got that. And so now the top two vote winners will have to face each other again in a subsequent successive round of election, which is then a runoff. Instant death, winner takes all, so to speak. So that no matter how many votes are cast, somebody's going to end up with more than 50% of those votes and will thereby become the winner. And so this runoff election that will be happening in January could hinge on the same black women who helped flip the blue state. It had been blue, flipped to red, flipped the state blue. Georgia had always been red, they flipped it to blue, and it's through the actions of these very motivational and community-oriented black women who helped turn the state into a blue state. And if something is hinging around them or hinging around an issue, the hinges are the metal things on the side of a door which allow a door to swing, which technically means the door is rotating around those hinges, then being the center point around which things revolve, and without which it ceases to become a door. It stops functioning. Therefore, it's the most important part. And so, yes, if something hinges on something, that something is the most important part around which it all revolves, and the greater situation, might not function without. Yeah? And that's why when we say that somebody has become unhinged, that means the door is no longer functioning and it's just off and not abiding by the rules of dooriness. And I hope you adore that description. All right, so those were the headlines for today, Monday the 23rd of November. And here we go, folks, off to the races. I hope you have a beautiful week. Stay safe out there if you're going to be doing any gathering for Thanksgiving or anything else otherwise. And so, hope you have a great day or sweet dreams if you're in a part of the world where you're just going to bed. And I will be on tonight at 8 p.m. with the crossword, and who knows, maybe demo some other materials just to see how it goes. And as always, 8 a.m. again tomorrow. So if I don't see you tonight, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a beautiful day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Yes, stop the stream.